Hello, and welcome back to episode 31 of the From the Source podcast. Today we are going to be talking about a few of the silent killers of people's progress in terms of like training, running, gym, whatever it is, and some of the mistakes that kind of hold people back that they don't even realise is happening in front of them most of the time. So you can be training as hard as you want, showing up consistently, doing the right things, but there's like these little niggles or tweaks or mistakes that just keep creeping in, and lo and behold, the results will start to fall away. You start to feel a bit shit about yourself, and everything will just fall off a cliff, really. So we're going to be covering kind of sleep, stress, form, bit of nutrition, recovery. Like we've touched previously on like overtraining and tracking, which is what I've spoken about before, which most people will do, that I do anyway, through Strava or Runner, depending on which one you use. Hopefully this will help the beginners. Hopefully this will help like the seasoned gym goers out there that have hit the wall. You're able to fix these, and hopefully you'll be able to see more progress and you'll be better for it. So, first one. When I was reading through these before I even started, I've done like little separate episodes on these. This is actually just like a mini little run through. But first one is sleep and stress. These literally are the invisible killer in terms of your training. You'll be doing all the right things, but you're going to bed too late. You're waking up too early. Trying to train twice a day, you're just burning the candle at both ends basically. But most people focus on the actual workout, so you're running, you're lifting weights, you're high rocks training, whatever. You focus on that because that is the thing that's going to get you fit, which is absolutely correct. But it's what you're doing in the back end that is actually hindering any progress that you're making. Ignoring your recovery side, like your sleep, and just your sleep will increase your stress, which will then affect your sleep, and then it's just a vicious circle then. So you'll be training really hard, you're even more tired, you're not sleeping, you're stressed, and you're just going round in circles. So like your lack of sleep, people always bark on about 8 hours a day, or between 7 and 9 hours a day, or whatever any guru says. But lack of sleep will just send your hormones wild, be an imbalance to that. From a male perspective, obviously it'll affect like testosterone and energy levels and everything else, all the other hormones that go with that, which means like all your muscles are repairing slower, and it's just like a crap recovery. So you'll be putting all that work in, waking up every morning and be like, God, I'm sore. You're eating well, but you're just not giving your body time to recover. And then if you get onto like the chronic stress, obviously people would have heard of the word cortisol. So obviously increasing cortisol affects everything in the rest of your body. So it's about being as stress-free as possible in life. I don't know how easy that would be, considering the world we live in, especially the UK, and what the government seems to do to us all, and increasing taxes and bloody more work and everything else that goes with it. But best you can, keep the cortisol or the stress levels low, and aim for 7 to 9 hours ideally. That is a dream. Even just like relaxing more during the day if you can, or at weekends, just try and help yourself that way. So even if before you think about starting to lift heavier or train harder or whatever you want to do, you want to make sure that sleep foundation is absolutely airtight, absolutely solid for you to build on. And it is really just as simple as just even going to bed early, or I've started doing like just getting in bed a bit earlier, or before you feel like you're sat on the sofa and you're then tired, you can't be arsed moving, go before, whilst you've got the energy to actually do that. So a few common gym mistakes, or 2 common gym mistakes that will hinder people that are gym related, or obviously you've gone over this a lot now, but if you're doing high rocks and stuff, you are in the gym and you are a runner all at the same time, a bit like CrossFitters as well. two things that affect you: poor form, and I can't remember which episode I talked about, but the ego type lifting that I see a lot of people. I keep thinking I've got like hiccups or something. Ego lifting that I see a lot of people doing, and I think the ego lifting is more dangerous than the poor form. But if you have someone with poor form and ego lifting, wow, if they can walk the next day, I'll be surprised. So lifting too heavy too soon will destroy your progress. And then if you link that with the poor movement patterns, which is still your form but slightly ego as well, you'll get poor results. And then the ego lifting is just literally about shifting that tension that you should be putting. I see a lot of people doing the ego lifting with clean and jerks. Like the goal is to get the bar above your head from the floor, but you're still meant to use the actual muscles that you need to do those lifts broken down. You're still meant to use them, and a lot of people will use every other muscle that isn't that muscle just to get the weight up, which is putting pressure on other muscles, other joints, other tendons that weren't maybe prepared for it, like ready for it. So then that's when if your form's also crap, that's what also affects all of it, and then the whole chain goes off, and then that's where people get like back or hamstrings or glute problems and stuff. And you might not get it in the moment. You do it a few times, or you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, shit, I shouldn't have done that. So if your form's good, all the right muscles are being activated, it lowers all the chances of your injury, and you get better performance from it, and you'll also then hence get a better session outcome from it. And you're progressing on the way. You'll be progressing on the way to be. So keep that tempo slow, use the full range of motion, control the weight rather than putting more weight on that you can't control. And if you feel like your form's kind of going to break, just stop. You might be tired at that point, you might have done too big a sets, the weight might be too much, but if you feel like it's going, don't push through and ego lift it up and have all your mates like assist you and stuff. Like, there's no benefit to it. So once your form is consistent, we move on to probably the second thing that people miss out of their training, which is the fuel and your recovery. Your fuel and recovery behind your fuel and recovery, which is like the boring bit that people just forget about as well. They just think calories and don't obviously break it down to like macros and everything else that goes with it, all the boring stuff people just want to eat. So nutrition and recovery, you will never, in the history of the world, you will never be able to build muscle or endurance if you're not eating any forms of protein. So that might be under eating, just not eating enough. You will never gain what you want to gain and what is potentially within your body from the training if you're not eating protein. That's just absolute facts. Protein is the one that helps and builds and repairs muscle. So without that, you're pretty screwed. And a lot of people just think, I'll do a long run and then I'll just shovel in all the carbs because that's what I need to run, which is correct. But you also need the protein to help you, and you also need the protein and the carbs after you finish the runs or the weights. They need to go hand in hand, and obviously getting more complicated, but obviously the good fats as well. Going to McDonald's and chowing down a double Big Mac meal with loads of calories, people look at it and hit my calorie content for the day, which is correct, you probably have, but salt content's probably gone through the roof. You've eaten like loads of saturated shitty carbs that aren't really going to do much in terms of fueling you for the day, and the protein involved in a Big Mac is probably minimal in terms of what you need even for that meal alone, let alone the daily consumption that you need. So yeah, you probably have eaten 2,500 calories, well done, but it's all just like crap. As I mentioned before in previous episodes, 1.6 to maybe 2.4, 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily. Carb, this is also dependent on like body size and stuff, but carb well around your workouts, also dependent on what type of training you're doing. So if you're marathon running, you're going to need a lot more carbs. And then hydration, which is a big thing, which is something I've started to lack on recently, but water, your electrolytes, making sure you've got enough fluids. So not to be too boring, but we're made of a lot of water. I think is it 60 or 70%, and we need that water to help with the exchange within the cells. Boring, I know, but it needs to be said. And your recovery days is where some of the gains or more of the gains happen, because you're allowing your body obviously to recover, repair, being able to go again. So training every single day in your head is, I train every day, I'll get better obviously and stronger, because I'm constantly like repairing my muscles and I'm feeding it. Yes, you are, but you're not giving your body a chance to even process what the hell's going on. And as I've spoken about before, warm-ups, cool-downs need to happen. They don't happen for me, really. I skip out on them. Depends how I'm feeling, to be fair, but usually skip out on them. But if you're not doing that, you're being more stiff, and everything else falls away from there. It takes you ages to get training, and there's loads of different reasons, but warm-ups and cool-downs are important. The next topic actually is conveniently overtraining and lack of rest. So probably the second, or one of first or second biggest thing that people read online and see, like all these gurus and, oh my god, this is what I've got to be doing, overtraining is the best. I can't remember who it was like Ronnie Coleman or someone saying overtraining's good, and that was like the only clip that then just went round the internet, and you've missed out the rest of it. In terms of, they're not overtraining in terms of hard sessions every single day, they're probably overtraining in terms of the daily amount you should be, but some of the sessions are a lot less intensity than the others. So basically overtraining is just training hard every session to complete burnout, fatigue. You cannot lift any more weights, you cannot run any further, you're probably vomiting, all that lot, really pushing yourself to the limit. And in terms of running, you need to do one of them sessions probably like once a week, once every 2 weeks, to really find out where you are. But they don't need to be a constant training session. Your legs will be in bits, and it's just not fun. So some signs of overtraining: persistent soreness. Speaks for itself, really. You're waking up every day and you're like, Jesus Christ, can't walk up the stairs. A steady or an increased drop in performance in whatever you're training. Trouble sleeping, because you're probably so sore that every time you roll over you're groaning and it's like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. And then you're also completely drained of energy because you're probably too busy training, you're not eating as much. The goal is to just train, and it just isn't working. So the simple rule is a few hard days, more hard days, more easy days than hard days. But the hard days should be hard. And I think I've spoken about this with like Connor and stuff, but say if you're just going across that graph, you do a hard day that just bumps you up to the next level, do some easy days, and it's just a slow like staircase, if you will. The hard days just take you to the next level, and each time you're doing that. But if you're doing a hard day all the time, yes, you'll go up the levels, but you'll drop off rapidly, probably lower than what you started on. So, 1 or 2 rest days a week, depending on what you're training for. If you're doing like the marathon like I'm doing next year, the rest days are like more now than they will be, but as you're getting closer, the rest days get less. But that taper week, 2 weeks before, there'll be more rest days or less intense days. Deload every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what you're doing. That's just like standard across the board. You can't just train at the same intensity all the time. It just isn't going to work. And then, as I've spoken about before, mixing the training up that you're doing. So some cross training. If you're just a runner, maybe just lift some weights. It doesn't have to be like mad numbers. It's just something different that just changes it up. You should be lifting weights anyway if you're doing a runner, have you been a runner, it should obviously just be specific to running. And likewise, if you're lifting just weights, maybe try a hot cross class, a high rocks class, or a CrossFit class, just to switch up a bit, just getting a bit of cardio in. It's really easy, but once everyone gets in that zone of I am a lifter, I just lift weights, it's hard to get them out. And they also probably don't want to be embarrassed that they feel like they're so unfit when they're doing cardio. But yeah, if you got a runner in there and trains with them, the runner would be like, God, I feel so weak. So it goes both ways. So if you've listened to all of that and you feel, oh, I'm going to action that and I'm going to fix it all, then that's brilliant. But obviously you need to keep track of it to start with, because it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I'm doing all this and I'm doing everything correctly, but you're then surprised 6 weeks down the line when nothing's actually working again. Yeah, you just need to make sure you're on it. So the best way to do it is tracking. So the simplest way I use it is there's Runner app that people use, which you can do the running and the strength on there, but Strava's a good one for uploading like all activities, and it's a good indicator. Tracking it all is a perfect way for you to see what you're actually doing, and obviously your watch and the data doesn't lie. You can chuck in like MyFitnessPal and stuff for your food and stuff, but pretty much with MyFitnessPal you could just like simply just make a note on your phone and then just chuck it into ChatGPT. They're like, I should be eating this, I like eating these foods, make me a plan loosely, and then just stick to it. You don't have to like scan all the foods and overcomplicate it. It just, if you're doing that, it puts you off doing it, and then it means you're just not doing that sort of thing. So simply just create notes, create a little Excel training sheet if you really wanted to, jump on Strava, and then if you're vain about it, you can do like photos and videos and stuff. It's entirely up to you, but make it like some form of SMART goals to what obviously you want to do. And the tracking is just really simple. There's too many apps out there that will just overcomplicate it for people, so just keep it simple, and all of the other stuff that I've just said will fall into it. And everything I've spoken about on this episode is really simple to do, but a lot of us live chaotic lives, so it's not just as easy as just flicking a switch one day and doing it. It's going to have to be slowly introduced, and so it's done properly, really. These are some of the common mistakes I've thought of, and obviously they're incredibly flexible for people to interchange, and some people may be doing some really well, some might not be doing any at all, but it's just about some form of acknowledgement. This is possibly why all your training and progress is being hindered. It might be from a few of these things, and if it isn't and it's other things, let me know, because I'd be interested to see what stops other people from training and how it affects them. But sleep, dial that in, manage your stress best you can, use some like proper form in the gym, use the muscles that are meant to be used on the exercise that you're doing, eat right, sleep right, and then if you want to, track your progress at the start. And it's as simple as that. You don't need a perfect plan, it's just be consistent and show up. It's really that easy. And that's all I've got. That is all I've got for this week's episode. A little snippet into what next week's episode will be. It is going to be about sleep, and hopefully I'm not going to send you to sleep whilst I talk about it. So, little introduction to what next week's going to be. Sleep. If you enjoyed the episode, please share, comment, whatever you listen to this on. Still chipping away at the website and uploading more of the blogs that I'll be doing and the episodes for the podcast, so that'll be in the new year. I was just checking this was a date and it wasn't like a few days before Christmas before I wished happy Christmas, but yeah, there'll be an episode out every Monday 6 PM. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.